Hello everyone, welcome to my watercolor and sketching tutorial. As you can see, I start my composition, which is drawn from observation, with a very light pencil, a 5H. I keep it moving quickly, and this way I can fix my mistakes easy. 5H is very easy to erase and doesn't leave any marks. Now I've switched to an HB, which is darker and allows me to see what I'm working on a little bit better, paying special attention to the negative space, which is the shapes between the branches of my tree. Right now, I'm drawing a tree. So don't be afraid if you have any questions to interrupt me. I've moved on to the fine liner. This is a Micron. It's the brand that I use. The watercolor is transparent, so Micron, those fine liners will show up underneath my paint, no problem, and therefore be part of the drawing. I've moved on to some texture for the leaves. Just using a wiggly, expressive lines. There's no way I'm going to draw every single flower. This is an apple blossom. No way I'm going to draw every single flower, so I use sort of a wiggly line to merely suggest. This little demo is going to end at some pretty early stages. It's really designed to help you understand how to start a composition. This is the Pentel brush tip that I'm using for some accents. And now doing the ellipse shapes. Ellipses are quite hard to do at first. They're the ovals when you see a cylinder in perspective. The oval shapes. The hand positioning is very important when drawing, and it's quite hard to teach. Everyone will come up with their own way of holding the pen. I would just say move it around. See how I'm using different angles to do different lines according to how much control I can get in my wrist, but mostly in my forearm. You want to avoid really working with your wrist too much. The whole arm has to be involved. Any questions, anyone? No? So there's a big plane at the base of the tree that I edited out to make my composition more simple. Right behind the buckets. Now this is the fun part, the wash of light green paint, it will become so light once it's soaked in the paper that it will appear white in reference, in contrast to any surrounding color. Any sort of wash like that, light wash, will create a vibrancy in those white areas that you won't have with the white of the paper, which will tend to soak up. I feel like it's a void when it's pure white. It's not practical. Moving on, I considered arbitrarily to treat green as my cool color. So now I've moved to a yellow sienna type brown, yellowish brown, for any warmth that will help me bring elements to the forefront. So this is really getting to the fun part where whatever I do is going to determine the vibrancy of each different area. Of course, wood for the fence has a warmer color. So you can notice I'm holding my brush a little bit further. And working at an angle like this helps the water drain. It helps the medium avoid puddling up in areas of my drawing. Not to mention it's more practical for the natural ways of the arm muscle to work at an angle rather than on a flat surface. So you'll have to excuse the shadow that hides a lot of what I'm doing. I'm working on the sky. The sky is quite crucial in the understanding of the negative shapes between the branches and the flowers.
So what are you using there?
Watercolor.
What is that? Oh.
Yeah. And a lot of what you don't see is my mixing the colors and draining my brush, making sure there's a good amount of paint. Right now it's very translucent because I'm lacking some paint, so I will fix that eventually. But that really comes with experience. How much pigment, how wet is your brush, and having a rag is your best friend. Because you might perhaps waste some paint on it to get it to the right consistency, but that's not really an issue, is it? So I'm going to unaddress my flowers to make them look like bunch. If I go too much into detail, if I insist too much, I'm going to lose the airiness of a spring blossom. The white of the paper, or light green as we saw with the first wash, is really everything. See how that light green has become lighter?
Mm-hmm.
So fashion designers get told you have to let the fabric speak to you. Well, here you have to let the paper, brushes, your subject, the apple tree speak to you. What I just did there, what I'm doing is some splattering, using the memory of the bristles to spray some reddish colors that imitate they represent the center of the flowers that are reddish in an apple tree. But they wouldn't have to represent anything. A red is always, little highlights of red is always a good impressionistic approach.
So how long did it take you to do this?
2 hours.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So I think I'm nearing the end of these early stages. We will be seeing the end results pretty quickly. This is actually a greenhouse with a plastic tarp. Can you call it a tarp or just a plastic sheet? Right now the spots are a little bit heavy-handed, and I remember later on that I just used some water to merge it all together. Mm-hmm. That shading on the tarp, which was pretty successful. You never know with watercolor. I mean, if you're going to be successful,
it's fluky.
It's fluky. Yeah. It's not like you can aim to knock it out of the park. But that day, if you can be inspired by the day, the sunlight, the experience, it usually shows through. The fun that you might have had. So I really like this fan brush, how it separates, the bristles separate and create almost like a stamp kind of idea. They're always distanced the same way, and the eye likes to see patterns repeat like that. Right there you could see my hand was right, palm up. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching this time lapse of a watercolor of my backyard. Sorry.
Oh, I said that's neat.
I had originally wanted to go to Queen Elizabeth Park, and when I went about to take my bike, I realized, I knew the day before I had a flat tire,
Oh.
so I needed to address that. Decided to paint my backyard, which was all the better since I can relate to it emotionally.
Yeah.
My ex-roommate in that area said, "Oh, I recognize that view in that basement suite." He saw it on Facebook. So have a great day. May art be with you always. May the force be with you. Take care, and I will see you again soon. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. Goodbye.
There. Oh, goodness. Isn't that pretty?
That's the white gel pen for the highlights on the...
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Well, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, that's great.
If there's one true artist in this world, it's me.
Of course.
Well, thank you for participating.
Thank you.
During this tutorial, you just heard the students of my sketching and drawing class at the Roundhouse Community Center.